So today we're talking about economic indicators, which is a total like eat your vegetables kind of story because it's not the stuff people really click on, but it's important because it goes straight to the heart of our competitiveness as a state. So too often we look at political outcomes instead of actual economic outcomes. And the number one economic indicator that the mainstream media focuses on is really a political number, not an economic number. I'm talking about the unemployment rate. It's the one you see on television and the newspapers. You see politicians hold up their tweets and their press releases touting that they did this or that to create jobs. Well, that's actually not the number you should be looking at because that only tells a small fraction of the real story. The unemployment rate only tells a small part of the story because it's only a small part of the workforce. The workforce is actually about 2.5 million people in South Carolina, and that's the number we should be looking at. That number is a percentage of our working age population. And I know I've already bored you to tears, but let me try to explain it. Every month, the U.S. Department of Labor releases monthly unemployment data for the state of South Carolina and all the other states. South Carolina typically does well on the unemployment front, but doesn't perform well on the number that really matters, which is labor participation. So let me explain to you what labor participation is. It's the percentage of the workforce that should be working that actually is working. And in South Carolina, that number has historically lagged well behind the national average. And in fact, we're one of the bottom 10 states in the country, have been for years. In fact, pretty much since they started tabulating this data way back in 1976. So unlike the unemployment rate, which only tracks a small segment of the workforce, labor participation tracks the size of the workforce itself, which is what we should be looking at. And in South Carolina, the size of the workforce is consistently smaller than it is in other states, which is a problem. So let's do the math. This month, 4.2 million South Carolinians are of working age, meaning they should be part of the labor force. Now, how many of them are actually part of the labor force? 2.4 million, which means we have a labor participation rate of about 57.2%. Now, this is going to change when it's adjusted by the bean counters up in Washington, but that's about a level reading of what the rate is. So here's the question. Why do you not hear this data from the mainstream press? Why don't they focus on this number? Why did they talk to you about the unemployment rate, which again, is only one small percentage of the workforce? And again, whether it rises or falls really doesn't matter in the big scheme of things. I'll tell you a reason why. Mainstream media loves to stay in good with politicians. They love to take pictures of ribbon cuttings. They love to tout their press releases. They love to have access. Access matters more to them than telling you the actual truth about our economy. So again, if you want the scoop on the actual numbers and why those numbers matter, come to us, FITSNews.com. If you want to hear what the politicians want you to hear, check out the other guys.